burnt his bridges fully with the British public. He's leaked out through Hello magazine how excited he is to be coming back on this, what we're calling the pseudo-royal tour. He has 4 days of visiting his patronages, which includes the Diana Award, the World Child Awards tonight, and so on and so on. He has made it known publicly that he would like to have a visit with his father, King Charles, who he last saw for that very famous 30-minute meeting in February last year, when he just sort of swamped his dad unannounced on the day that it was revealed that his father had, or just shortly after his father had revealed he had cancer to the world. Charles at the time was very worried. The roles were about information being leaked. And we've seen since February last year, Harry making a series of damning and strange statements, such as questioning how long Eamonn, his father, the king, has to live. That's not the sort of things you see on interviews to the likes of the BBC, for goodness sake. So you can understand why his father was very hurt, very upset. The rest of the royal family are. And that trust, as far as I can see, has been irretrievably broken between them. But Harry seems to think that of his choosing, because he's now got over whatever slights or hurt he had about his family, that now it should all be, everything's forgotten, everything's forgiven, and he just wants to swoop back in as though nothing has happened and bring Meghan and his children. Well, I can't see Meghan really wanting to set foot back yet. I think she knows Harry's on a failed mission. But mission he is, and he is determined to see his dad one way or another.
OK, Sarah. Well, Jack, that's what Sarah has to say. What do you think? Because I think on a human level, it would be nice, wouldn't it, for a father who's been battling cancer to be reunited with his son, with whom he always had a very close relationship.
His son's not the problem. It's the pain in the backside. She is.
Well, she's not there.
She's always going to be there. She's always going to influence everything.
Jack, what do you think?
Right, you're right. It's Meghan controls
Sarah, let Jack have a word.
Sorry, I know Sarah said, nobody's interested in Harry anymore or what's going on with Harry, but here we are still talking about Harry today. So clearly there is still an interest in Harry and what Harry's doing. I do think that the king should see him. Do you know, the problem that we've had in the past is Harry's desperate to try and get back into the fold, and he's now found that the only way he can try and say that is through press, or through, like Sarah said, trying to leak it to somebody saying he's desperate to try and see his father. I know he said at the time, he didn't know how long his dad had left. Well, that is quite a normal thing to say about something.
Hello and welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales. I'm Adrian, and if you're new here, this is where we cut through the noise and examine how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are really being treated by the British press. Today we're diving deep into the latest heated exchange from the British media, this time involving veteran broadcaster Eamonn Holmes. His inflammatory comments about Meghan Markle on GB News have once again exposed the troubling pattern of how the Sussexes are targeted by certain sections of the UK press. But here's the crucial context that many outlets are glossing over. All of this happened in the lead-up to Prince Harry's scheduled visit to the UK, his first since losing his High Court appeal over police protection just a few months ago. And as we'll explore today, the timing of these attacks is far from coincidental. So buckle up, because we're about to unpack not just what was said, but why it was said, and what it reveals about the media's ongoing campaign against this couple. Let's start with what actually happened. On a recent episode of GB News, panellists were debating a seemingly straightforward question. Should King Charles meet with Prince Harry during his upcoming visit to London? Now, for most of us watching, this seems like a no-brainer. We're talking about a father battling cancer and a son who has repeatedly expressed his desire for reconciliation. What could be more human, more necessary than a family coming together during a health crisis? But when it came to Eamonn Holmes, the 64-year-old presenter who's made a career out of controversial takes, the discussion took a sharp turn into personal territory. Instead of addressing Harry's genuine desire to reconnect with his father, Holmes chose to launch a direct attack on Meghan. His exact words were telling. He dismissed Meghan as, and I quote, the pain in the backside, before going on to insist that she would always interfere, always influence Harry's decisions, and always be a problem for the royal family. Now, let's pause here because this reveals something crucial about the media narrative. Holmes wasn't responding to anything Meghan had actually done or said. She wasn't even planning to be part of this particular trip to the UK. Yet somehow, in a discussion about a father-son relationship, she became the villain of the story. This is the pattern we see over and over again. Every time Harry takes any step, whether it's toward his family or away from them, Meghan gets blamed. It's as if Harry, a 40-year-old man who served in the military, started his own charities and has been making public statements for decades, suddenly lost all agency the moment he married an American actress. What makes Holmes's comments even more problematic is that they came from someone who has never met Meghan personally, has no inside knowledge of royal dynamics, and is essentially speculating based on tabloid narratives that have been proven unreliable time and time again. To understand why Eamonn Holmes's comments are so damaging, we need to look at the broader context of how Meghan has been portrayed since she first entered the royal spotlight. From day one, certain sections of the British press have painted Meghan as the outsider, the disruptor, the American who came in and changed everything. But let's examine what actually changed. Harry has always been the prince who wanted to modernise the monarchy. Even before Meghan, he was talking about mental health, criticising the press and expressing frustration with royal protocols. His military service shaped him into someone who valued substance over ceremony, action over tradition. When Harry met Meghan, he found someone who shared those values. She was already an advocate for women's rights, had worked with the United Nations, and had built a successful career on her own terms. She didn't need the royal family, if anything. Joining it meant giving up her independence, her career and her privacy. But instead of recognising this partnership as potentially strengthening the monarchy's relevance, certain media outlets chose to frame it as a threat. Every time Harry spoke about wanting privacy for his family, it was blamed on Meghan's influence. When he criticised racist coverage, it was portrayed as Meghan turning him against the British press. The reality is much simpler. Harry has consistently said he makes his own decisions. From the decision to step back from senior royal duties, to pursuing legal action over privacy and safety concerns, to continuing his charitable work through Archewell, these are choices he has defended publicly and repeatedly. Think about it this way. If your partner was being subjected to racist abuse, death threats, and constant invasion of privacy, wouldn't you want to protect them? If you had the means to provide a safer environment for your children, wouldn't you take it? Yet when Harry does exactly what any loving husband and father would do, it's twisted into a narrative about Meghan's manipulation. This isn't just unfair, it's a deliberate misrepresentation that serves to maintain a particular storyline that sells newspapers and generates clicks. Amidst all this manufactured drama, there was one voice of reason on that GB News panel. Presenter Ellie Costello made a point that should have been obvious to everyone. On a purely human level, wouldn't it be nice for King Charles and Prince Harry to spend time together? This is where the media circus becomes truly absurd. We're talking about a 75-year-old man who is publicly battling cancer and his younger son, who has made it clear he wants to be there for his father during this difficult time. Harry has been remarkably open about his fears regarding his father's health. In interviews, he's expressed genuine concern about not knowing how much time they might have left together. This isn't manipulation or a publicity stunt. This is a son confronting the mortality of a parent, something most of us can relate to on the deepest level. Moreover, reports have consistently shown that Harry wants his children, Archie and Lilibet, to understand their British heritage and maintain connections with their royal relatives. As a father, he's thinking about what his kids might regret not knowing about their family history. Archie is now 5 years old and Lilibet is 3. These are formative years when children start asking questions about where they come from, who their family is, and what their story means. Harry, who lost his own mother at 12, understands better than most how important family connections can be. But instead of celebrating a father's desire to give his children a complete sense of their identity, the media chooses to frame this as some kind of calculated move. It's as if basic human emotions and family bonds are somehow suspect when they involve the Sussexes. The timing of Harry's visit adds another layer of significance that the inflammatory headlines tend to overlook. His arrival is scheduled to coincide with the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's passing, a moment that should be about reflection, legacy, and honouring one of the most significant figures in modern British history. For Harry, this timing is deeply personal. Queen Elizabeth was not just his grandmother, but also someone who provided stability during the most traumatic period of his childhood. Their relationship remained strong even after he stepped back from royal duties, and her passing in September 2022 was clearly a profound loss for him. While certain media outlets choose to obsess over speculation about whether Meghan might set foot in the UK during this visit, Harry is focusing on something much more meaningful: service. His itinerary includes a visit to Nottingham's community recording studio, where he's scheduled to announce a major donation to children in need. This is classic Harry using his platform and resources to make a tangible difference in young people's lives. It's the kind of work that directly honours his mother Diana's legacy, the belief that privilege comes with responsibility, and that real change happens at the community level. It's also worth noting that this charitable focus has been consistent throughout Harry and Meghan's post-royal journey. Through their Archewell Foundation, they've supported mental health initiatives, disaster relief efforts and educational programs. Their Netflix and Spotify deals, rather than being pure celebrity ventures, have been vehicles for highlighting important social issues. Yet somehow, when Harry announces charitable work, it gets buried beneath speculation about family drama. The substance gets lost in the soap opera narrative that certain outlets prefer to promote. This brings us to a crucial question about media responsibility. When someone like Eamonn Holmes uses his platform to launch personal attacks against someone who isn't even present to defend themselves, what does that say about journalistic standards? Holmes has been in broadcasting for decades. He understands the power of his words and the reach of his platform. Yet he chose to use that influence not to inform or enlighten, but to perpetuate harmful stereotypes about a woman who has been subjected to unprecedented levels of abuse. The double standard is glaring. When other members of the royal family face criticism, the response is typically measured and respectful. But when it comes to Meghan, all bets seem to be off. She can be called names, her motives can be questioned, and her very presence can be treated as problematic, all without any requirement for evidence or fairness. This isn't just about one broadcaster or one comment. It's about a systematic approach that has made it acceptable to dehumanize Meghan in ways that would never be tolerated if applied to other public figures. The real tragedy is that this approach doesn't just harm Meghan and Harry, it diminishes the quality of public discourse and makes it harder for audiences to access genuine information about issues that actually matter. Despite all the noise and negativity, what continues to impress me about Harry and Meghan is their consistency in rising above the fray. While commentators like Eamonn Holmes resort to name-calling and speculation, the Sussexes continue to focus on their actual work and their family. Meghan's response to these attacks has been particularly dignified. Rather than engaging in public feuds or issuing defensive statements, she has chosen to let her actions speak for themselves. Her work with Archewell, her business ventures, and her focus on raising her children in a stable, loving environment all demonstrate a woman who refuses to be defined by her critics. Similarly, Harry's approach to this UK visit shows a mature perspective. He's not letting media hostility prevent him from pursuing the relationships and causes that matter to him. Whether it's spending time with his father, honouring his grandmother's memory, or supporting charitable causes, he's staying focused on what actually matters. This is perhaps the most important lesson we can take from their journey, that it's possible to maintain your values and pursue your goals even when facing unprecedented levels of criticism and scrutiny. So what's the real story here? While some voices in the media continue to traffic in insults and inflammatory rhetoric, Harry and Meghan continue to demonstrate grace, purpose, and commitment to making a positive impact. Harry's upcoming visit to the UK isn't about drama or publicity. It's about a son who wants to be there for his father, a grandson honouring his grandmother's memory, and a man using his platform to help children in need. And Meghan, despite being targeted yet again for something she's not even directly involved in, she continues to focus on building a life that reflects her values and supporting her husband in his efforts to maintain family relationships. The Sussexes have consistently shown that they won't be deterred by the noise. They're building something meaningful, raising their children with love and purpose, and using their influence to make a difference in the world. That's the real story that often gets lost in the manufactured controversy. This has been Meghan and Harry Tales with me, Adrian. If you believe that everyone deserves fair and respectful coverage, regardless of their status or background, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us continue to provide balanced perspective in a media landscape that too often chooses sensationalism over substance. Until next time, let's keep supporting those who are working to make a positive difference in the world, no matter how loud the critics may be.